Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Gananaham Tva Ganapati Gum Havamahe Kavim Kavinam Jeshtarajam Brahmanam Brahmanaspata Anasranvan Utibhisseda Sadhanam Prano Devi Saraswati Vajebhirvajinivati Dhinama Vitrayavatu Ganeshaya Namaha Saraswatyai Namaha Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Sumukascha Ekadantascha Kapilo Gajakarnakaha Lambodharascha Vikato Vignarajo Vinayakaha Dhumaketur Ganadhyakshaha Palachandro Gajananaha Vakratundaha Surpakarno Herambaha Skandapurvajaha Suklam Baradharam Vishnum Sasivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vignopashantaye Yasya Dvirada Vaktradhyaha Parishadhyaha Parasatam Vignam Nignanti Satatam Vishvaksenam Tamasraye Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheswaraha Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tattulyam Ramanama Varanane Shri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tattulyam Ramanama Varanane Shri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tattulyam Ramanama Varanane Shri Ramanama Varanana Om Namayiti Yatra Yatra Raghunatha Kirtanam Tatra Tatra Krita Mastakanjalim Bhashpavari Paripurna Lochanam Marutim Namata Rakshasantakam. Kautsu, the disciple of Varatantu, came to Raghu's palace and asked that he be helped with fulfilling his desire to offer dakshina to his guru. And when Raghu gave him the money, Kautsu was very happy because the money was given with very pure heart. Number one. Number two, it was collected from others without causing any distress or any harm to those people. And the people who gave the money to the king, they all gave it gladly and voluntarily. And with so much love, when Raghu passed it on to Kautsu, Kautsu was delighted because this was dharma in motion. Dharma was exemplified. So in his happiness, tremendous happiness, the bliss that he experienced, he gave a boon to Raja. He said, Maharaja, you will be blessed with a son who will achieve very wide fame, very worldwide fame he will achieve. And with that he left. As to prove his word right, within 10 months later, Raghu was blessed with a charming child, dazzled like a diamond. And then appropriate time, 10th day, the rites of naming ceremony was done by the palace priest, and he was named Aja. Aja means one who cannot be conquered. And Aja means also one who is not born, without birth. So, he was a very charming boy, and he grew very nicely. As we parents, we know the tremendous pleasure that Raghu enjoyed in his growth. And then he also taught him the various things, not only befitting a person who has to take over the responsibility of administering the kingdom, but also the growth of a human being. The moral values, the ethical code of conduct, and what is important and what is not important. Those kind of things he was taught, and he soon became very adept in each of them, each of the sciences that he studied, and he gained a fame, a reputation as a very great scholar and also very accomplished youth. And that spread throughout the land, that everybody, this was the fame of Aja. Then very soon Raghu also had the same thanks that his father had. And he said, getting older, time to retire to the forest and start focusing and thinking and meditating and spending the rest of your life in the thoughts of God, handing over the responsibility of the kingdom to Aja. So he called the priests and all that together, and he said, let's fix an auspicious time for coronating Aja. At the same time, let's also conduct his marriage too, at the same time. And the same way it happened to Raghu also. So then the suitable bride was the daughter of Bhojaraja, the sister of Bhojaraja. And her name was Indumati. She was the sister of Bhojaraja in the Magadha Desam, which is not too far from where Ayodhya was. And so she came, and then after coronation and installing Aja on the throne and handing over the responsibilities, Raghu retired to the forest with his wife. And Aja, with Indumati as his loving partner, he won the loyalty of the citizens of the country by caring and taking care of them selflessly, putting their interest ahead of his own interest. And because he was so well read, he was very wise and with tremendous love and sympathy, and also he scrupulously followed the advice given to him by his father Raghu in administering the kingdom. And because he loved the world, he loved the society, he loved everyone in the society, he loved his wife very much. He saw a reflection of his own wife in everybody, so much love that he had for everyone, loved them so deeply. So he was always happy and in an exalted manner. And the royal couple spent the weekends and all that in nice retreats, and they were leading a life that is very good, administering the kingdom, taking care of their personal life, and in the company of nature that he spent lots of time. Then, meanwhile, the queen Indumati gave birth to a son. And you can imagine how happy the parents would have been. Like the first child and a son, and a tremendous happy event is celebrated in a very grand occasion, in a very grand manner, and then prostrated to Vasishtha and conveyed the news to him and prayed to him that he must conduct all the ceremonial rites for the boy, for the newborn baby, and Vasishtha named him in the appropriate time, the 10th day, as Dasaratha. And Dasaratha was a boy, a pet of everyone. The baby, the child attracted everyone. And so full of ananda all the time. It spread happiness and bliss to everybody who saw him, who came in contact with him. And so Dasaratha grew up very nicely, very beautifully, again, undergoing the similar type of education that befits a royal prince, as well as the growth of a human being. And Dasaratha was growing up like that. One day, Dasaratha became in the youth stage. Aja and Indumati took a trip to the adjoining forest to spend some time alone in nature, with nature, and for recreation. And the forest was beautiful. There's a silence, the sublime silence was there. And so when they were enjoying the silence all around and all that, all of a sudden, they sat underneath a tree, in the shade of a tree, and then they were conversing with each other very lovingly and endearingly, because they were like soulmates. And at that time, a wind blew. And when the wind blew, along with it, it carried a fragrance. A fragrance like something you cannot get it in this world. It was supernatural, out of this world type of fragrance. They've never smelt like that before. At the same time, they also heard some captivating divine music. They were wonderstruck. Immediately they got up. Where is this fragrance coming from? Where is this music coming from? These are mysterious gifts they had all of a sudden. They looked all around. They couldn't see anything. And then when they looked above in the sky, they found high above in the sky, between the clouds in the sky, none other than Narada, the Manasaputra of Brahma. He was moving very fast somewhere, traveling very fast. And as they were looking at him, a beautiful thing happened. a flower that Narada had on his tuft fell down. And it came down all the way from the sky. And it fell right on top of the head of Indumati. And Aja was amazed at this happening. But then, next second, he was shocked because Indumati had fallen down dead, lifeless, instantly. Imagine one moment of bliss and happiness, next instant, tremendous sadness. And Indumati was a woman he loved very dearly, very close to him, and very intimately, and he could not bear the sudden separation of his beloved from him. So he wailed, he cried out loud, and even the trees could not bear his sorrow. So much, and the earth quaked underneath with the intensity of the sorrow, intensity of his wailings and crying that he was doing. And now, Narada, up above in the sky, heard this. He heard the words, the sobs and the groans of the king. And as he wept over the dead body of his beloved, so he came down to console him. He said, Maharaja, being sad at the time of death is of no use. Because death strikes. See, it is something that's inescapable. The body that we have is taken birth, it is also taken death also. We cannot avoid it. So whatever brings about birth also brings about death. This is all there is. And why it is happening is an exercise in insanity. It is foolishness. That Bhagavan, the acts of Bhagavan, acts of God are beyond cause and effect. It's beyond the cause and effect chain. And we cannot, ordinary people with their ordinary intellect cannot even unravel this mystery. They can at best guess a reason as far as their limited intellect will take them, but really they do not know. Now, how can a human intellect grasp something that is out of its range, out of its reach, out of its domain? See, death is inevitable for a person who has taken a body. However, the death of Indumati is filled with strangeness. It is so strange it happened like that. So I have to tell you the reason why it happened. Then he drew the king near and he said, listen, Maharaja, in the former days, there was a rishi called Trana Bindu who was engaged in very strict tapas, discipline, and is a great ascetic, an extreme tapas that he was engaged in. So Indra wanted to test him, test his resolve. And now this testing the resolve is really nothing wrong about it, because it is akin to, when you want to hang a picture on a wall, you first drive the nail, right? And the picture is a heavy picture. Once after you drive the nail, before you hang the picture with your hand, between your forefinger and thumb, you kind of shake the nail to see whether it is solid, it is steady, or it is shaky, right? That's all that Bhagavan does all the time. As we undertake tapas and strengthen our faith, periodically he will test it. He will shake it to see whether have we become strong. That is all it is. That Indra was doing that. So he wanted to test whether his tapas is shaky or whether is really resolute. So what did he do? He dispatched a divine enchantress, a Gandharva lady named Harini, to go and attract him and to go and wean him away and shake his concentration through sensualism, right? Now, but the rishi was absolutely immune to her acts and plays and all that, because he was so deeply involved in it. So he was absolutely unaffected. But he opened his eyes and told her, lady, you don't seem to be an ordinary mortal, ordinary woman. You must have come from the Devalokam. A godly damsel you must be. Whoever you are, you must suffer the penalty for resolving to execute a foul deed, a bad deed that you did under not a good plan. Whoever gave you the plan, but you executed that. So, you be born now as a human being, fallen from heaven, and learn what it is to be a human mortal. So he gave her the curse. Then he closed his eyes and continued his meditation, continued his dhyana. Now Harini was absolutely shook up. She was shocked. She was afraid. And she started crying profusely. And she prayed to the Rishi, please, take back this curse, please, and ask for forgiveness and cancel this for from exile from heaven, banishing from heaven. That's what he was she was doing that. She cried so pathetically, the Rishi melted a little bit, and he said, okay, don't worry. It is not possible for me to take back my word. Okay, I cannot do that. But I shall make a modification. See, there will be an occasion will come when what occasion you will be released from the curse. The moment a flower from the sky falls on your head, then your human body will fall and you will be released. And Narada said, and you will return to heaven. Narada said, Indumati is a divine lady, and now today she found a release. And the flower that I wore fell on her, and she rid herself of her curse. So why are you grieving about this? It is of no avail. She has reached where she needs to be. Then Narada gave him some additional advice on the duties of a king, and the examples that he must set for the citizens to follow. Talked about the absolutely unstable nature of life, evanescent, here 1 second, next minute gone, and the mystery of death. Nobody knows. It's a very mysterious thing that happens. And the ultimate fate of everybody who has taken birth has to die. It's an inescapable law. So then Narada went his way. Now, unable, absolutely, in spite of all this explanation, in spite of hearing the reasons and also understanding the truth of the transient nature of one's life, understanding it fully well, still Aja could not bear the separation from his wife. He returned to the kingdom, and he took some comfort in the company of his son Dasaratha, and so said that because of Dasaratha he had the will to continue to live, but became very sad, very dreary. And now, since Dasaratha had grown up into a youth, then Aja decided to transfer the responsibilities of the kingdom's responsibilities on his shoulders, which he did, conducted the coronation. Then he went and sat on the bank of the river Sarayu and fasted, started his fasting. And there is a ritual for that. It's allowed in our scriptural guidelines. There are several ways to leave the body and to end the life in this body, and one of them is through fasting, called without taking any food, and it's called anasana. And then, so denying himself the sustenance, the nourishment required to live, he slowly ebbed and then gave away his life. Now, when Dasaratha heard the news, of course, he very immediately rushed to the Sarayu bank, and he cried. He was very sad, but then he took some comfort in the fact that his father had given up his life through a well-approved ritualistic vow. So he drew some strength in the fact, and then returned and started ruling the kingdom. Now, he was a very well accomplished person, Dasaratha was, and very soon, his fame spread all over the kingdom, and sea to sea. The Ikshvaku was the kingdom was such a huge one. Everywhere, nook and corner, everybody came to know the strength, the might, and the love and the compassion and the justice and the firmness and the valor and the courage and the scholarship and the wisdom of Dasaratha. And in his kingdom, people experienced the ideals of an emperor, because Dasaratha was a man of peace and love. He was pure and selfless. Whatever he did is always for others, nothing for himself. And he considered the citizens of the kingdom as his own children and as his own life, and rendered selfless service to them. Right? And people had intense love for Dasaratha because they were being served so nicely, and they're very happy to have him as their king. And he had the vast kingdom of Ayodhya had only 8 ministers, and but the ministers looked after the worldly matters, all the things required for physical things, health and education and everything else. And these ministers were all erudite scholars. They were very well read, very well versed in texts, and they also led a virtuous, selfless life and had tremendous sense control. They were prepared to sacrifice their lives for the king and the kingdom. And they also considered the people as their own children. Then there were 2 priests, Vasishtha and Vamadeva. These 2 priests exemplified the virtuous path, the moral path, and the underlying entity that is guiding everything else and keeping the focus on that. And they propagated the Vedic way of life to the entire society, and the entire kingdom of Ayodhya was very blissful. People were very happy, really contented, very happy. And this fame, this kind of a reputation spread far and wide. And the Dasaratha, he lived up to the meaning of his name. It means like he had the skills of 10 charioteers, and that's the amount of skills that he had. When he started on a war footing, nobody could withstand his onslaught. Every contemporary ruler and were mortally afraid of Dasaratha, because what he would do to them. He was so powerful. They immediately paid homage. They came and surrendered to him, fell at his feet. Okay, I'm your sub-ruler. They took him as his master, and the whole world extolled Dasaratha as a hero without equal, and a man of virtue without equal, a statesman of highest stature. This kind of a reputation, imagine, reached Ravana, who was there as king of Lanka. Ravana heard this news reached him, and Ravana was filled with envy. How can somebody be better than me? How can somebody be, superior to me? So I have to bring him in line, he thought. And this is what demons do. Either by fair or foul means, they want to control. They want to destroy and suppress. So what Ravana thought, he came up with a stratagem. He wanted to provoke Dasaratha into a fight, and thereby he could establish his superiority over him. So he sent a messenger. He sent actually a bunch of messengers to Dasaratha, and these messengers came to Dasaratha's palace. The king was seated on the throne. They said, Swami, we have come from messengers from Ravana, king of Lanka, and he has sent a message. What is it? Now, he wants you to pay the dues to him. You have not paid the dues that belong to him. You have not paid any tributes to him. So it's what we call in Tamil as kappam katrathu. You have to do that. Or if you don't do that, you have to meet Ravana on the battlefield and demonstrate your superiority over him in war. Challenge is thrown. And this kind of a call coming from just like this is against the international, those conducts, the rules of code of conduct on morality and politics and everything else. But Rakshasas do not follow the moral values. Now, when Dasaratha heard the messenger speak like this, he laughed out loud. and absolute derision. Then he got up from his throne, came out of the palace, and as the messengers was looking on, he shot deadly sharp arrows, which reached all the way to Lanka itself and fastened the gates of Lanka, the city of Lanka. Right from there, from Ayodhya, he sent the arrows that actually locked up the doors of Lanka. And then Dasaratha turned to the messengers and said, "Sir, I have now locked the doors of Lanka and to your fortress city. Your master cannot open them. However hard he may try, he cannot open them. That is the tribute. That is the kapam I want to pay him, and to your impertinent lord for speaking to me like this." And so when the messengers returned, they found the doors were locked, and Ravana and his soldiers from inside, they were trying to open the doors, but they could not. The door just would not budge open. And absolute failure it was. And then when in front of all his army, here Ravana, their boss, could not open the door. What kind of a shameful incident it is, right? Even though the subordinates may not speak out loud, everybody, this is a shame that Ravana experienced right in front of his own subordinates. And when the moment he experienced the shame, strangely enough, the doors unfastened themselves and opened. This is what happened. So, being a demon, being a Rakshasa, which means a demonic mind, how would Ravana go away peacefully saying, "Oh my God, Dasaratha is superior to me, is stronger than me, so let me mind my business"? No. He had to get back with vengeance. He had to get back and even out and still try and conquer Dasaratha. So how can I do this? Physical prowess doesn't work. Skills in war does not work because he has seen it. So how else can I damage this guy? This is what he was thinking. So he went to the forest and did a tremendous penance, a tapas. And Ravana was very good in performing tapas. He had the brilliant Eka Grandha, as they say, with mind focused on one thing, so he could do. Great Siva Bhakta he was, great Siva Bhakta. And so he could concentrate without any distraction, focus and get into dhyanam, and then contact the Bhagavan who is present everywhere. And so he undertook a great, very strict tapas, and so the tapas fructified, and Brahma came and said, "Ravana, I'm very happy with the tapas that you have done. Okay, now tell me, what is it you want? Ask anything you want. I'll grant it to you. That is to your heart's desire, I'll fulfill it." And then Ravana was, he'd already kind of thinking, when Bhagavan asks you what do you want, you better be prepared, okay, because the moment may go very quickly also. So you have to answer immediately, otherwise Swami may vanish. So Ravana was thinking about this, so he came up with an answer. He said, "Swami," he thought about all the insults that he had suffered at the hands of Dasaratha and how to get even. So instead of asking for something good for him, as won't a good person would do that, this is how Rakshasic mind works. He asked Brahma, "Swami, my only prayer, my only boon that I'm requesting from you, make sure that there is no son born to Dasaratha. This is the only gift that I want from you. Please bless me with this grace." Immediately Brahma said, "So be it," and he vanished, because he didn't want to hang around even for an extra second, because you never know what else Ravana might ask. So he vanished. And then Ravana now has got the boon from Brahma himself, where Dasaratha will not have any sons, period. So he was very happy. He came back to his kingdom dancing and singing, "Oh my God, I've achieved what I wanted to do." Then as soon as he reached his palace, and after the immediate impact of what had happened has lessened, he thought some more. He said, No, that is good. That that Dasaratha will not have any son. Now that boon I've received. But what if I prevent Dasaratha from even getting married? How about that? He was thinking about that project and that stratagem. And that we will continue tomorrow. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Samastalokaha Sukhino Bhavantu Samastalokaha Sukhino Bhavantu Samastalokaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om.